Welcome to ProKitchen University, an online video tutorial series, version 11. This video is part of the Mac Native Interface series for Mac users only. In this video, we are going to explore wall attributes. There are some designs that can present challenges for the designer, whether it is creating a cathedral ceiling, creating a curve on a wall, or setting different textures for walls within the design. In ProKitchen software, Wall Attributes gives you, the designer, an opportunity to overcome those challenges and allow for you to provide your customers with the most detailed and precise representation of their remodel or new builds. There are two ways in which to access a singular wall's attributes. The first method of accessing wall attributes is through the right-click toolbox. Hover the mouse over the desired wall and right-click. Then hover into the menu and over to the wall number. Once the mouse is hovering over the numbered wall option, the toolbox will appear. Slide the mouse into the toolbox and select Attributes at the bottom of the list. Alternatively, to quickly access a wall's attributes without engaging the right-click toolbox, hover the mouse over the wall and double left-click. A dialog box will then appear that will contain 5 tabs on the left-hand side. General, which will allow you to change the type of wall, turn inside and outside wall zones on or off, and adjust the wall dimensions. Curvature, which will allow you to create a convex or concave curve to the wall. Cathedral, which will allow you to create a slope, shed, or gambrel cathedral ceiling. Material, which will provide you the means to communicate to installers, architects, and inspectors the type of materials the walls are constructed out of. And texture, which will allow you to change the texture of both the inside and outside of the wall. In the center of the dialog box will be controls for the selected tab. On the right-hand side of the dialog box is the preview panel, which will provide you with a visual representation of the wall. Also, at the bottom right corner of the preview panel, you will see a 3D icon. When you left-click this, you will see the 3D image of the wall. An additional set of controls will appear at the bottom of the panel. These are the manual rotate and zoom options. You may utilize the mouse commands by hovering over the wall. Either right-click and hold to rotate the wall, or use the roller ball on the mouse to zoom in and out. To change the view back to the line drawing, left-click the black and white line drawing icon. Let's take a deeper look at each of the tabs within the dialog box. When you open the dialog box, it will open to the General tab. There are 3 portions of the general information here for you to adjust. In the construction portion, you may select what type of wall this wall will be. When you sketch your wall with the Sketch tool, it will be drawn as a wall at the height determined in either the design or default settings, and will by default only have the inside wall zone turned on. By left-clicking the radio button to the left of an option, we can change this to either a construction line, which is a zero-width invisible wall, or to a knee wall, which is a cabinet or bar-type height standard wall. Note that by changing which type of wall this is, it will not automatically change any of the additional information, as this will need to be done manually here in the Attributes dialog box. Wall zones, or placement zones, are the areas to the inside or outside of the wall in which cabinets and other items will be placed. Walls drawn with the Sketch tool will place with only the inside zone turned on, and construction lines will default with both the inside and outside zones turned on. Wall zones must be turned on in order to create an elevation view, provide proper rendering in 3D, and will assist in snapping the backs of items directly to the face of the wall, which will prevent any potential gaps in the design. When left-clicking in the box to the left of each of these options, you may be able to turn on or off the wall zone for either the inside or outside of the wall. Additionally, while designing, if you need to turn the wall zones off for easier item placement, at the bottom right corner of the Pro Kitchen window, left-click the Zone tab to temporarily turn off all activated wall zones, and left-click again to turn all the wall zones back on. Remember, wall zones must be on for proper rendering in 3D, so it is a good practice of habit to ensure the Zone tab is blue before opening the 3D Edge viewer. Back in the Attributes dialog box, under the General tab, in the Wall Dimensions portion, we can adjust the wall length, wall thickness, and wall height for the selected wall. Notice, however, that with my selected wall, it is attached on both sides to adjoining walls, so I may not adjust the wall length within the dialog box, and must utilize the Resize tool from the right-click toolbox. But if an open-ended wall is selected, we may adjust the wall length within the Attributes dialog box. To change any of these dimensions, either left-click the arrows to the right, the inner arrows adjusting by whole value increments, and the outer arrows by fractional increments, or you may highlight the current text, then type in the required value using either decimal or fractional values, as Pro Kitchen will recognize both. Next up is the Curvature tab. Curved walls have always posed design challenges, so this function is an incredible tool that will allow you to represent your customer's unique design and precisely place all cabinetry and items along the curved wall. In the Curvature tab, you will see that we can create either a convex curve toward the outside of the room or a concave curve towards the inside of the room. As before, to select one of these options, left-click the radio button to the left of the option. Then, below, you may create the curve by one of three methods. You will only need to provide one of the following dimensions, and Pro Kitchen will automatically create the curvature based on that single value. Again, we can utilize the arrows to the right of the dimension field, or highlight the text and type in the required value. As you change the values for any of these options, in the preview panel to the right, you will see the shape of the curve change in accordance with the entered value. Sector refers to the area of the room within the radius wall. Depth refers to the distance from the edge of the adjoining walls to the furthest point on the curvature. Radius refers to the length of the curved wall from the edge of the adjoining wall to the center point of the curvature. With the radius option, you may also choose to make the curvature larger than a semicircle by left-clicking the box to the left of the option below, which will then create a more circular room as the dimensional parameter entered will allow. Once the radius has been created, you may continue to place doors, windows, cabinets, and other items as you would with any other wall within the design. In the Cathedral tab is where you will be able to create a cathedral ceiling for the room. The cathedral option will need to be created on the wall that will hold the peak of the ceiling. Here, you have 4 options. By default, none is selected and will render in 3D as a standard planar ceiling. Slope is a ceiling with a single peak. Shed will create a ceiling with 2 peaks. and gambrel will create a ceiling with 3 peaks. Let's start with the first option. Slope, once selected, below will appear the cathedral parameters, where you will need to enter 2 parameters to build this slope. Ceiling vault position refers to the distance from the left adjoining wall to where the peak of the ceiling will be in relation to the distance measured on the floor. Vault height refers to the height of the topmost peak of the ceiling in relation to the top of the adjoining wall height. As you adjust these parameters, the image in the preview panel will adjust to reflect the entered dimension. Under the Cathedral Length section, you may choose to create the ceiling shape to the next wall, which is the wall opposite of the selected wall, or you may turn that option off by left-clicking the box to remove the checkmark. Then, in the specified length field, enter the distance in which this cathedral ceiling will continue into the room. When selecting the shed option, you will see there are now 4 fields under Cathedral Parameters, in which you may adjust the dimensions. Now there is a left vault and right vault position. Again, referring to the distance from the left adjoining wall to the position of both left and right peaks of this ceiling shape. And there are also fields for both the left and right vault heights that will allow you to create the ceiling shape with 2 different peak heights. Again, as you change these parameters, the image to the left will change to reflect the entered values. And you will also have the option to continue the cathedral ceiling the entire distance of the room, or turn off this option and determine how far into the room this ceiling shape will continue. The gambrel cathedral ceiling shape is created like the previous 2. However, now there are 3 vault positions and vault height values to be entered. Remember, when entering the vault position values, that each value is a reflection of where the peak will sit from the left adjoining wall. Also, as with previous options, you may adjust whether the ceiling shape will continue to the opposite wall or at what distance this ceiling shape will end. Once the cathedral ceiling has been created, when we open the elevation view of an adjoining wall, we will see that there are additional areas in which we can place windows and other items. Once these items have been placed on the wall, you may utilize the up-down placement tools to move the items up onto the cathedral ceiling, allowing you to install skylight windows and other construction features, such as support beams created from user shapes. For more tips and tricks on creating cathedral walls, please visit the Cathedral Walls video tutorial. Back in Wall Attributes, next up is the Material tab. Here, we have several options for the construction material of the wall. Each of these options will have their own particular marking to indicate the type of construction material. Wood stud will appear as white in color, with X blocks spaced at regular intervals, indicating the position of the studs. Concrete will appear as a black outline with black flecks within the interior of the entire width and thickness of the wall. Concrete block will appear as a black outline with black lines along the entire length of the wall. Metal stud, similar to the wood stud option, will have black lines at regular intervals, indicating the metal studs. Brick will appear as a black outline with diagonally placed black lines. And special finish face will appear as thick black horizontally placed dashed lines along the interior edge of the wall. Choosing any of these options will not affect any of the wall's general dimensions. So if the wall thickness is different, you must navigate back to the General tab and make the adjustments. Changes made to the material of the walls will only serve as an indicator to architects, installers, and inspectors regarding the wall construction material. The last tab within the wall attributes is the Textures tab. In this tab, you may choose a texture that is different from the selected wall texture within either the design or default settings. You have the ability to select a texture for both the inside and outside of the selected wall, which is particularly handy for multi-room designs. The process for selecting a new texture is similar to how you make a texture selection in the design or default settings. To the right of either the inside or outside texture fields, left-click the Select button. This will launch an additional dialog box, which will provide the textures catalog. In the upper left of the dialog box, you may search for a texture by keyword, name, or sample number, or utilize the catalog tree in the panel below. The samples that match your search results or are contained within a selected folder will appear in the bottom panel. Left-click a sample to see a preview in the Preview panel to the right. Once the desired sample has been selected, left-click the OK button to apply the change and dismiss the additional dialog box. Now, in the Wall Attributes dialog box, you will see the selected sample appear in the Preview box and applied to the wall in the Preview panel to the right. Here, you may hover your mouse over the wall and use the roller ball on the mouse to zoom in to view the applied texture, or right-click and hold to rotate the wall to view the opposite side of the wall. You may also clear the selected wall texture, which will restore the wall texture to what has been previously designated within the design or default settings. Or you may select to change the texture of the inside or outside of the wall to match the selected texture of the opposite side of the wall. Once you have made all the necessary changes to the selected wall, navigate to the bottom right corner of the dialog box and left-click OK to apply all the changes. Continue this process for all necessary changes to any of the additional walls, providing the appropriate foundation for your design. Then you are ready to continue placing architectural and room elements and begin bringing in the desired cabinetry components to create a beautiful, precise, and true to final product rendering of your customer's home. Thank you for visiting Pro Kitchen University. Be sure to visit us at prokitchensoftware.com.